In 2000, after the Mbogwa report, local government minister J.J. Kamotho started the implementation phase. City Town Clerk Zipporah Wandera and the Director of City Planning and Architecture, Kuria Wagathoni, was sent packing. According to a report in the Daily Nation on the 29th of January 2000, the two were just mere items in a long catalogue of cult personalities that City Hall had dubiously created. Others include former Cabinet Minister Fred Gumo and Omar Habib Kongo. The four reinvented and changed rules of respective offices. Absolute power was their modus operandi. Before their sacking, Wandera and Kuria Wagathoni ruled over City Hall like colossus, deriding critics and setting their own rules. Complaints by residents and city councillors hardly moved the Wandera establishment. Apart from apparent arrogance towards the press, the two City Hall officials lived in ivory towers. Wandera and Wagathoni used city askaris to keep at bay any journalist who tried to venture into their offices. That year, Zipporah Wandera was convicted and imprisoned over corruption. But many questioned why Kuria Wagathoni was never grilled by the now defunct Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority, CASA, over claims of land grabbing and illegal disposal of city council property.
Everybody used Wandera, and that's why I think she suffered a lot, and maybe through all those issues concerning what happened, I think, my dear, she couldn't take it. Because even now, if you go to the courts, all the problems concerning land in Nairobi, it comes during Wandera's time. Even the ones before Wandera, they were taken to Wandera's time. The ones after Wandera, they backdate them during Wandera's time.
Evidence of their sins of commissions and omission dot the city. If one estate could be the microcosm of everything that went wrong, Huruma, it is. The estate has seen better times.
Yeah, my names are Kevin Uduny, mzaliwa wa Imta, from 1986. So my parents waliingia hapa 1974, hao ndio wanzilishi wa mtaa. So naishi Missionary 3D na sasa hivi tuko na my sister. My parents walishaondokea. Venye mimi nilipata since hiyo time ya utoto, mtaa ilikuwa poa sana. Na naweza sema hii ndio one of the estates yenye imekuwa very recognized around, such that long time ago it was really respected. Yeah, in fact, people knew that when you come to flats, ilikuwa kama punk. So kulikuwa na hiyo difference ya huku na huku chini.
One thing that Huruma was known for were these flats. Beauty is all they oozed.
Hii estate ilikuwa imejengwa design nyingine, yani ilikuwa na plan poa, such that from the main entrance, which ni hapa mali tuko bloke, ilikuwa unaweza ingia ndani vizuri na penetrate mpaka mwisho. But whereby na courts, whereby ulikuwa unaingia first court, kama hapa India first court yenye tuko, unapata iko na open field yenye macho hapa ya playground. So ukitoka hapo ukienda the next court pia, it is the same criteria yenye walitengeneza nayo ndio bado iko. So plan ilikuwa sawa kabisa, inafull, hakuna sijui ati kuna shortcut ama nini. So iko to the same hivyo, kila court iko na playing field yake na parking reserved ya residents. So unapata watu wa Maisonette walikuwa na parking kwa manyumba zao, but size parking za nje ni za watu wa flats. Juu wao hakuna mahali wanaingiza gari kwa nyumba. So hizo zilikuwa specifically za watu wa flats. So ukifuatilia hivyo mpaka huko mwisho blockes, hiyo mpango yuko hivyo tu. Hivyo ndio hii estate ilifanya kutoka kitambo.
The estate had a football pitch that used to be called the Red Carpet, a city council clinic and a community center. Now, only the clinic remains standing, with the football pitch currently being occupied by Redeemed Gospel Church headquarters.
Where we first went wrong is when the authority, including city authority and many others in the country, failed to provide services and left it to churches. You might wonder why there are many churches in residential areas than services. You may not have questioned that. They are there because those spaces are meant to be open spaces for public facilities. So there was a time in the city governance where it was said, give them to churches, but require them to provide preschool and health. That's why you see most churches provide also preschool and health. It is not just by default. It's because of inability of city authorities to provide the required services.
Venye watu wameshikwa hizi nyumba, unapata kuna wazazi wameishi hapa since mwanzo, umepata watoto. Sasa mwezi kwa nyumba moja, unapata sasa unatengenezea kijana extension hapo nyuma na hapo nyuma. Ya so nyingi zao ni mavijana wa mtando na kwa hizo extensions ziko zimemekiwa nyuma. But hizo fences now ni just security issues. Sika kitambo ilikuwa open so that hakuna mtu alikuwa anaingilia. But sasa hivi wizi imekuwa mingi, hauwezi trust mtu yote.
But the story of Huruma changed further after houses started to collapse, killing and maiming residents, bringing forth the housing crisis the city faces. On the night of 29th April 2016, a 5-story building collapsed in the now overpopulated area. 51 people were killed and 150 families were left homeless. Pius Masai led the rescue operation here and says it was one of the horrific moments of his life.
The buildings that are collapsing, most of them, they are in the informal settlement. And most of them, they are unapproved. And if approved, they are not approved within the standard required.
The soil here is too wet and cannot hold a building. The state and the county government then issued orders for those staying in building close by to vacate. They were marked X in readiness for demolition. Almost 2 years later, these houses remain occupied.
This is avoidable hazards. You know, buildings, they are constructed by people.
Earning a decent wage in Nairobi is becoming more and more difficult. Thousands are evicted from their rented quarters over failure to pay rent. Over the past decade, an average household's income has declined while rent has been rising.
Mtu amezoea kulipa nyumba kitu like 2500, utaambia mtu ahame na mali atahamia, unapata nyumba ni 4000. Unajua maisha ya mtu ni ile level lenye yako.
Rental affordability is coming down, but in Huruma, like many estates in Eastlands, the struggle to survive go beyond paying rent. The city council stopped rendering services many decades ago.
Nimekaa huku sema lifetime. Mimi nafanya kazi ya garbage, na kazi ya garbage ile kitu ilifanya nikachagua hiyo kazi. Mtaa yetu ni chafu, unaona? Tukiwa na hiyo kazi ya garbage, tunakuanga na group, unaona? So hiyo group ndio unapata inasaidia ile clean up ya mtaa. Ile time mtaa ni chafu, unacheka time kasa hii, tunashikana, unapata tumetoa yani tumefagia barabara yote tako. Kuna disposal place iko pale juu, hapo ndio si utupa.
Many think that corrupt politicians and business leaders are heavily involved. Behind all the ills of the city, residents say, is a tradition of political control and interference at City Hall. Massive government corruption keeps many Kenyans in poverty. And quite often, city proceeds are redirected to individual pockets. And this culture of impunity filters down to the streets level where the rule of law is disregarded. Nairobi's depreciating glory reached fever pitch in the period before the 1992 elections that brought back councillors. During the 10-year period, it was a trend for KANU activists to pitch tent at State House, seeking appointment to the City Commission. Between 1983 and 1992, City Hall was regarded as a gold mine. Anyone with an ambition for the quick buck would go there. Fraudulent transactions were brokered here, and for years, ghost workers drew salaries from its seemingly inexhaustible kitty.
Without mentioning names,
because I wouldn't want to, because that is something you can investigate and find out. Those three mayors, former mayors' residential houses were grabbed by people who were in City Hall before. That is during the commission. You know who are in the commission then. They still, some of them still live in those houses. And a lot of these things happened during the commission time. But it came out to be known when, long after, when we were in office. And we were not able even to answer some of the questions because we didn't have the history.
When these commissions came in, they had a different purpose. They were not working according to the book. They looked at it from the political lens.
Those who have lived in Nairobi long enough indicate that things broke down in early 1980s, culminating in the dissolution of the city council in 1983. The late Moses Mudavadi, a powerful minister in Moi's government, wanted a new order in the city. Nathan Kahara was Nairobi's mayor when the city had literally gone into cardiac arrest. He was suspended and the council he led disbanded. Things had fallen apart and the city council was struggling to provide essential services to the residents. Water supply and garbage collection services were all in crisis. A task force chaired by then Inspector of Statutory Boards, Stanley Mbogwa, was formed to look into the council's activities. The activities, according to the government, had run down the city.
We are not there.
Former Cabinet Minister Muskari Kombo was a member of the task force and says indeed they found out that the city was in a bad shape and the council's books were not balancing.
The biggest problem was corruption. It was corruption to the extent that even the collector of money down there, before it reaches there, he has slashed his bit first before he can give it to the city coffers.
He says the councillors under the leadership of Kahara had grabbed a good number of plots that belonged to the city council. The task force recommended that city properties that had been looted be repossessed. But since 1983, that is yet to happen.
The glaring example that I still remember today is Woodley. You know, the houses in Woodley were literally, if you are the wife of councillor so-and-so, you are given a property and so on and so forth. And those houses in Woodley were just being dished out on the basis of either you are a relative or whoever you are, and so on. So it was true that land grabbing, mali ya umma was just going without any consideration whatsoever.
That leadership, which came out during Moi's time, and he didn't want to care about what is going on, especially in the city of Nairobi. They wanted just to make themselves rich and take everything.
These are public resources that had been looted. Did you not recommend that measures to
repossess? Yes, we did. We did.
And what happened?
Nothing. Nothing. Other than dissolving the council. The rest, nothing happened. Nothing. Up to today, nothing.
Were there not people like who could go to, for example, to the minister?
I think if you go back to your archives, you'll find occasional stories about somebody saying, we want to repossess these houses, we want to repossess Woodley. You read the story once, then it disappears. Nothing happens.
Many say City Hall is a den of cartels. Kombo agrees.
My experience that the corrupt are so powerful, and when they are touched, they fight back so hard that the government, especially when those corrupt people are also themselves within the government, it is helpless.
But Kahara says the move by the government to dissolve the city council was a gimmick aimed at taking control of things at City Hall.
You see, that came with a clear instruction to dissolve the council. Okay. Even when I meet that chairman, namuulizaga, akasema now there's nothing I could do because they suspended the council. Hawakuona any criminal offense.
For decades, the battle to control the city's resources has been an equivalent of war, and hence the need for wartime powers. And no one provided the ammunition as cartels ruled the capital's landscape. When the commissions took over control of the city, corruption skyrocketed.
We simply replaced the corrupt mayor with a corrupt chairman or a corrupt this, you know, it got even more awkward, I think, as I watched. I sat there watching, and I said, our country has really gone low, and it didn't help.
The National Lands Commission says it's difficult to repossess lands that were grabbed.
It's a difficult task, let me say. Very, very difficult because it is held in secrecy. Okay? We have managed to, you can only manage to know how many there are if you get if you get information from the county government. So far, how many? We have only managed to revoke. But those ones which we have are supposed to have a total count of is difficult. The one that we can tell you sure is those ones which are already occupied by public agencies. For example, schools, hospitals, public hospitals. Those ones we can say we have a record. But public lands alone in Nairobi is not easy to.
It's just to tell us we lose hope. And it's common knowledge, the public utility. In fact, there is a time I was discussing with one of the commissioner. They should put an advert if they are unable to know where these properties are. And the resident will volunteer information. They have the information. Let them go first to the Ndongo report and have that as a working document. Yeah? So from there they can be able to recover.
Hizi zilikuwa very white, they were government settlements, zilikuwa zinaitwa White House. Sasa hii nyumba unaona hapa ni kama inakaa ni ilibomiwa. Ilikuwa ya gava. Ilikuwa ya gava. Ilikuwa inaitwa kwa tunaita White House.
Such like structures.
Yeah. No, they were not there by then.
Matthew Otomax, a veteran goalkeeper who starred for Kenya's national team Harambee Stars, was raised here in Eastleigh. He tells me of the days this estate was the epitome of football talent and the facilitation that made it so.
Sasa hii kiwanja yetu ilikuwa hapa, kulikuwa na open space hapa nyuma ilikuwa behind the post. Hii post wameadjust. Wameadjust. Pass the ball to me. Pass the ball to me. Wow, that's a good effort. Sisi wenye tukua dogo, wale our seniors walikuwa wanacheza hapa. The people we learned from. Walikuwa wanacheza hapa.
So in the whole of Eastleigh, this is the only remaining place for...
This is the only remaining place. Yeah.
And but before then you had several open places?
Yeah, before then we had several open places. In fact, 3. We had 3 on the other side, which served like the whole community.
The whole community.
Yes.
Yeah. But all of them are now gone.
All of them are now gone. This has stayed because of the school, but there was a lot of adjustment. It was big.
It was big.
Yeah, like you can see, maybe it's like the whole bit of it has been taken away. Hapa kulikuwa na open pitch. Naona hapa imetengezwa hizi vitu. Ilikuwa pitch. Hapo ndio kuna team inaitwa Red Bentos. Very good players from Mathare. Jefari. Vipi jo? Mambo.
Hey, Zai.
Long time. Fiti. It's long. Vipi laini?
Si mbaya.
Poa?
Tuko.
Kwa kuja kuona ile grao yetu tulianzia hapa.
Center.
Wacha center, tunaenda center baadaye. Tulianziaga hapa kando.
Ndio hii sasa.
Ndio hii.
Hii yote imekula hii plot, lakini kuna ka space kadogo hapa.
Ndio sana naambia my first time to kick a football match. I found my age mates playing what you used to call the kickabout, and my mom had sent me to the shops to get some household stuff, and I took like 2 hours because I think football was in my blood. Well, I went back home, I got a few lashes, but I enjoyed whatever I got there, and from then it kicked off.
So when you come here, this is where you started, and it's no longer that place that nurtured young talents. What do you feel as a former player?
What I'll tell you, when I came back to Isli, tears came from my eyes because I didn't like what I was seeing. Before coming from home, my house was just next from here, and this was a very good pitch for us. It was enough for the under 12s, which we were, and kicking the ball around here made us love the sport. Now we no longer have such spaces to play.
So how well do you remember here? This used to be what? Because I can't see any sign of what it used to be.
When you see this, it's a large room, or we can say basically an empty hall. It has produced some of top Kenyan athletes. I'll mention one, Absalom Okinyi, was trained here as a boxer.
Absalom Okinyi?
Okinyi.
The one and only Absalom
The one and only Absalom Okinyi.
The boxer.
The boxer.
Yes.
Got his skills from here. There's Andrew Owili. Andrew Owili played, in fact, he got a bronze medal for Kenya in the Olympics way back in Taekwondo, a rare one for our country. And many boxers like Kenneth Valdez Ochieng, he became pro. Most of this area has become some sort of church, and very many NGO-based schools. Yeah. So I'm not saying schools are bad, but again, work and no play make Jack and Jill a dull boy and girl. Yeah. So we need to get this back, our open spaces. Yeah.
Enock Sikolia, NTV, in the county of Nairobi.